nice. Yeah. Yo, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And we are back today for another recap. This time we're doing The Shy. This is season 7, episode 2, titled The Fallout. Before we get started, please make sure you guys subscribe to our channel, like this video, and click that notification bell. Also, give us a follow on our social media. We are at the Spot Real Talk on all major platforms. And go ahead and invite your friends and family while you're at it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the conversation. So this episode, we're seeing a lot kind of involved with Tiff's pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And it is actually revealed because it seemed like it was, I don't know if it was hinted at. I did see something on their social media, Tiff kind of looking at the pregnancy test. And so I wasn't sure if they had actually shown the result of that or not, but she's definitely pregnant.
Yep.
I think she was, because her response, because she was like kind of distraught.
Mm-hmm.
And then the test was on the things. I was like, oh, she is, and she's probably, that's even more devastating to learn.
Right.
So yeah. I assumed that she was.
Yeah, so it could have gone either way for me, because either she could have been disappointed that she wasn't having a baby, because that's like another piece of the person
right.
that left.
Right.
So she's pregnant, and Alicia is dead set on thinking it's a boy. I don't know where she's pulling these thoughts out from, and predetermining that it's a boy, but she's also really dead set that this child is going to continue her legacy. And so, like you said last week, Tiffany, she has definitely warmed up to Tiff and has kind of taken her under her wing. This week, she's even telling her to come live with her, which I'm like, I don't know if that's the best idea.
Listen,
I think it's a good idea personally. I mean, they both lost someone, same person. Alicia lost her son and she lost her her mate, but I think of course I say that cautiously because we all know how Alicia can move things, but she seems to be treating her rather royally. I mean, she's giving her the club and also that effect, and to run and manage, and she wants her to, be her own woman. And she wants to leave a legacy for what she thinks is her son, Tiffany.
Yeah, Tiffany got something else to say.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you to finish.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish.
No. I'm not giving you any more ammunition than I already gave.
No, I mean, it's nothing against what you were saying, because I do think that she's happy about the baby. Mm-hmm. I do believe that. It is good for them to be together as far as family and stuff, but I'm nervous. I'm nervous that, like she's trying to tell her how to eat. It's good that she's throwing love on Tiff. She's loving on her and everything like that. But I feel like she's gonna take over. I can see her trying to take that baby. I don't know if you guys ever saw this movie before. It's an older movie, and it had Gwyneth Paltrow and Jessica Lange, and it was called Hush. And that woman, Jessica Lange, the mother-in-law, she was obsessed with her son, like, and everything, and she didn't want anybody to come between them, and she never really took to Gwyneth Paltrow's character. And she was, in that movie, she was trying to actually kill her. And she was going to take her baby. Like, she was going to induce the labor and take the baby and everything. Like, she had the baby. She was trying to control what Gwyneth ate, this, that, and the other. It was the same thing. It was me, this, that, and the other. And her plan was she was going to take the baby. And then, I'm not saying that it's as diabolical as that. Maybe not. But right now, she seems she's loving on Tiff, but I just hope it doesn't go that far that she ends up trying to take over the baby.
Yeah, I can see some of what you're saying. Like, Alicia's definitely very controlling. at least right now, it seems like Tiff is only mildly irritated by her making these suggestions and telling her to watch her diet and stuff. And then as far as the club, she's, upset that she brought Vic in to help her. She's like, oh, you already bringing a man in. And so it's like Alicia has a very strong opinion, but I'm more concerned about her bringing Tiff around her house because Alicia has just killed people. And we know collateral damage. People don't care. Bullets ain't got no names. So if they come and decide they're going to break into Alicia's house or they're going to shoot her up or something and Tiff and that baby are there, that's, a threat to them. And they're not even aware of what Alicia's side dealings are. So that's why I was like, that's why I don't think it's a good idea.
I'm going to get back to your statement in a second, Tiffany, but Alicia has always been in the cut. So you never really heard anything, going on around in her area, her neighborhood. But I getting back to Tiffany, what you said, I don't think that's Alicia's psychosis. She's not that crazy. I think what bothers Tiffany the most is, first of all, she doesn't want to be mothered. And it seems like that's what Alicia is trying to do. Because some of the things she mentioned to Tiffany is correct. I mean, you are having a child and you need to watch what you eat. And I fully agree with that.
I agree with all of that.
Yeah. And so, but I think what Tiffany fights the most is that being mothered. She wants to be independent. She wants to do things her way. And Tiffany's she's kind of strung on how she does things. And if there's going to be a clash, I kind of agree with you. When that baby comes, I think Alicia's going to want to raise the baby one way, and Tiffany is going to have her own, aspirations of how she raises her child. And I think that's where the cross is, that line is going to cross.
Yeah. And, never mind the fact that Shad had to find out after the fact. Alicia was basically like, oh yeah, Tiffany and the baby, or Tiffany's pregnant and she's going to be living here with us. And he's kind of thrown off. I think that he feels emasculated for sure, especially when he was talking to the fellas. He doesn't have any say so, and he's dealing with a powerful woman. Alicia is a boss, and so you're dealing with that kind of personality. She don't have to ask you for nothing. I mean, you really coming up off of her, so.
And y'all ain't married. You're not married, and you ain't got nothing. So if you, hey, I mean, if you're gonna lay up in somebody's house, then you gotta do what they ask you to do.
Well, it was the same with Deja. I mean, when he was living with her, he didn't have much say or whatever. I mean, it was her house.
Right. Yep. So if you don't like that kind of living, then do something about it.
Yeah. The other thing with this pregnancy that Tiff has, she reveals to Kesha that she's pregnant. And I think that was a good thing, for her to have an additional support outside of Alicia, because we see Alicia already taking things a little left from where Tiffany thought it was going to go. So she tells Kesha and tells her she can tell Emit, but nobody else. So, of course, Kesha tells Emit, and he is kind of shocked. But also, it seems like he's worried that how it's going to affect the situation with EJ, because he's like, dang, this might mean we're going to have to keep him a little bit longer. And, he goes and runs his mouth to Nuck.
But Kesha did not say to him, don't say anything to anyone else.
Right.
So she was told to tell Emit and not mention it to anyone else. And what she should have said, hey, Emit, I got some news, but you can't spread it. Keep your mouth shut. But she didn't do it. Now, that's not to say that Emit wasn't at fault for running.
Still shouldn't have ran as well. Yeah.
I mean, but again, it's Nuck the one I'm worried about, because you saw that look on his face.
Yeah. It's a look of guilt. Because it's a look of guilt. Because now he killed alive this man, and now he got a baby on the way. So so he was shook by that news. Emit has unresolved feelings for Tiff.
Yep.
Because he pretty much, was alluding to that. So yeah.
Yeah, and Emit, I mean, he got a lot going on himself. I mean, with all these kids he got running around, and I'm like, I understand you still want to be there for the mother of your child, but right now you need to be there for the actual kids. He's taking them to Smokies. One of the kids got injured and ends up having to go to the hospital. To which that's why him and Nuck had the argument in the first place, you know, because Nuck is looking at him like, can I trust my kid around you?
But what do y'all think about that? Because I felt a certain kind of way about that. Now, the man's got a restaurant or eatery or whatever you want to call it that he has to run, manage, help, cook, do all those things. And Keisha's putting that heat on him that you got to spend some quality time with the kids. That's the wrong place to spend quality time with a kid. Now, I don't know about you, but first of all, that would not have been my choice to take small kids to
She
that
didn't
place.
necessarily say spend quality time. She said she wanted them to have routine and some more structure in the household because like there were set activities that needed to take place at a certain time. And Emit is just kind of like the fly by night type, like he's winging it.
But didn't she say she needed him to take the kid, take one of the kids somewhere or something to that effect? But I understood both parties. I mean, yes, you're right. As a father, you're gonna have to find the time to manage your kid. I mean, you can't throw it all on your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. You're gonna have to take some time and man up and do some things. But taking the kid to the that's not the kind of job you take your kid to, okay?
Yeah, no.
Particularly
Yeah,
when they're that young.
that was a health hazard for sure.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason why they should have had little kids in the kitchen.
Yeah,
Like
no.
that stuff. And then, you know, it was bad with the customers too, because the customers were seeing all this chaos going on. It wasn't a good look.
At all. And so I just think Emit has to get like Kesha is telling him more structure, more routine, because as more and more kids come into the picture, you have to learn how to manage your time with them and make sure that they are not just running wild doing anything.
Is Kesha working though?
Kesha is, you say she working?
Yeah.
Well, she had gotten she got let go as a teacher, but then I thought that she had gotten another gig.
Yeah, I can't remember whether whether she was working or not. Because if she's not working, okay.
I think she is though.
Yeah, I don't think they can afford for her to not be working.
I don't know.
But she's pregnant also.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
pregnant too. So I don't know. And forgive me if she's working, then yeah, it has to be equal, you know, equal work on both sides. But as far as taking the kids that young someplace that is so dangerous, you know, that just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as far as Emit's unresolved feelings for Tiffany, I kind of got that sense when he was talking to Nuck and he was saying, you know, have you ever gotten that feeling like you're really done with somebody forever? And I think that Nuck might have been feeling the same way about Kesha.
Exactly.
Yeah. He was like, yeah, I know what you mean. I was like, yep, he talk about Kesha.
Mm-hmm.
Emit talk about Tiff, and Nuck is talking about Kesha.
And then Emit tried to kiss Tiffany in episode one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, so we know where Emmit's head is. You know, I
just got to go back to that because that's crazy to me that he's acting like that after all they've been through.
All they've been through.
That, I mean, that's crazy. That Emmit's still on my hands list for that. But nonetheless, you know, Tiff gets wind of all of this stuff. You know, saying that Nuck and what's his name, Emit now know and have spread the word. And so I like the way Tiffany kind of checked everybody and was like, look, this is my business. It's not supposed to be spread or whatever. But then Nuck actually came to Tiff and helped her out a little bit. She had been having trouble with that door at the lounge and he came and opened it up for her or whatever. But he also let her know that he wasn't going to be taking her money anymore because we know that he was basically extorting them last season and getting a cut of her profits. So I guess his guilt has moved him to be a little lenient and say, I'm good off the money. I don't know what y'all think about that. I'm thinking maybe Tiff is thinking he feels guilty. Well, she doesn't know that he did what he did, but maybe he feels some come to Jesus moment. We know he's been talking to Pastor Zeke or whatever.
I think he feels guilty. I think for sure he feels guilty.
Yeah.
And I think that made Emit suspicious. At the end, when
Tiffany
Tiff
told.
said it. Yeah, when she said it, he was like, what did he come for? What? He's not taking the money? You can see the look on Emmett's face. And I was like, Emmet is putting it together.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Probably
Tiffany
figuring
might
it out.
have had some impression because the way she was talking to Nook, I mean, even when Nook offered help and she initially denied him, and he said something, and something about how he felt, and she said something to the effect, "You should." And it's just that look she gave him when she looked back. It's almost as if she may not know he had something to do with the murder,
I
but
don't trust him.
that's probably what it was. Just this a look of lack of trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
I mean,
doesn't
I
trust him.
know you may not have done it, but who knows? You're in it some kind of way.
Yeah. And Emmet, when he kind of gave that look at Tiff, you're saying maybe you think he's putting the pieces together and figuring out that Nuck was involved. I was thinking maybe he thinks that Nuck is trying to make a move on Tiff.
Yeah.
He could be thinking that too.
Yeah.
But he was like, why was he there? Right? I think it's either way. I think he might start getting suspicious of him. And that can also be dangerous for Emmet, because if Nook feels cornered, we know what he'll do. You see what he did to his own cousin, threw his cousin under the bus.
Yeah.
Well, I still got my feelings about that.
I mean, he did. I mean,
They deserve to be under the bus. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just,
whether he did or not, Nook was the one
I
that did
know,
the
I
deed.
know. He did the dirt.
And that was his cousin, and he allowed his cousin to go down for something he did.
Yeah. Now, to put a little bow on this whole Tiff, Emmet, Kesha situation, I did appreciate this episode that Kesha and Emmet had a conversation, and Kesha actually apologized to Emmet for bringing EJ into the house without asking or whatever. It should have ran it past him. So we gave her the hands for that last week. I'm taking her off the hands list this week for apologizing. So the next thing that I want to talk about was basically this thing with Nuck. He's talking to Zeke, and we know he's been going to him for spiritual guidance, and he has been feeling guilty. But he's basically struggling with the fact of whether he should be involved, and if this is the right timing to try to figure out his issue, because he's stuck on the idea that he has to have this tough guy persona or whatever. And he's like, in my line of work, I can't afford to be soft. I can't afford to necessarily change my behavior. And I thought that was a very interesting thing for him to say, because we always talk about the struggle as a leader, whether you lead with love and, respect from your people, or whether you lead with a heavy hand.
Brute force. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I was like, that was interesting. But he did come back around, talking about how he was haunted by some of his decisions, and he feels like a monster, basically.
I think he said he had to go outside of himself when he does certain things, and I think I remember saying in the first episode about his behavior in terms of leadership that he has to put on that persona because of who he is and what he does. He really drove it home this episode, because we saw how emotional things can be with him, even though he has to do the dirt. But it is what it is. You're in that field, and this is what you do for a living. This is what you have to do. I'm surprised though that he laid it all out for the pastor. But then the pastor, he's got his own dirt to deal with, and he agreed wholeheartedly about some of the things you have to do. And I like what the pastor said. When Nook said something about you, well, you're the pastor, you're not supposed to have any dirt. And he's like, well, how can I help you with your dirt if I don't know dirt? So, paraphrasing, but that was a good comeback.
Yeah,
that was a mess. With the pastor and Jake and the first lady, that's a mess.
A whole mess. So let's talk about that, because Jake is basically dating or seeing this girl Remy, and she is looking all up in his phone and sees the first lady Tatiana texting him, and she takes it upon herself to air them out. She goes live on social media, puts them on blast, and now it's a whole storm coming their way. And so basically Pastor Zeke he's not trying to run from the heat that's coming his way, and he's thinking, he can handle it or whatever, as long as they just, they can address it, but not necessarily run from the situation. But Charles is actually suggesting, let me step in, let me take the lead and do the next sermon.
Well, that's what he wanted anyway. But I wonder though if Charles hadn't stepped in, because Jake was, um, the pastor Zeke was all over her about what had happened. You're ruining me. You're bringing me down. Blah 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 blah. You're bringing yourself down, Joe. Because a lot of them, if you didn't know exactly, you knew some of what was going on with her last season. So pretty much you allowed her to do whatever she wanted to do. So
listen, Charles is coming for Zeke's spot.
He is.
Charles, aka Dre from Power, is coming for his spot. He was trying to have the sermon and take over, and you can see how the congregation responded. I was like, he about to steal this man's spot, his church and stuff, and run off with it and stuff. It's clear. It's clear that was his thing. That's why he was like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. Let's just do it this way because it benefits him."
And you saw how fidgety he got in the seat because he realized.
Yeah, he saw how the crowd was responding to the congregation.
Man.
So he was like, "Oh, he about to take my spot."
Yep.
Glad we finally get to see him this season because he wasn't in the first episode.
Right.
But Papa is a very supportive person, and I appreciate how he's trying to be there for her and comfort her because he knew that her and Zay were, tight like that. And so he's trying to be a support. And then in terms of her going out of town to, stay with grandma, Zeke was kind of saying that she was up in age and she was like, I'm not sure if she's going to be able to really care for you. So basically, Kenya's going to be out there fending for herself, not unless grandma lives with some other relatives, which I didn't seem to get that from the conversation.
But she's old enough.
I think she's like 19.
Yeah, she's old enough to take care of herself and take care of grandma for that reason.
But that's a huge burden when you have somebody that's older.
Yeah. It is.
You're a young person. You're trying to be out ripping, running straight, doing your thing. And I don't know if that's the best solution for somebody that's grieving already.
We'll see if she makes it out of town, or if she even stays, because she's the only one besides Bakari who knows the secret that Nuck was the one to kill Rob. So I still feel like that secret is going to come into play.
Oh yeah, for sure. And speaking of people leaving town, looks like Maisha is heading out of town too, because her and Kev in the long distance thing, it seems like it's weighing on their relationship. And so Kevin has invited Maisha out to LA to live. And Papa is a little upset about that. He was in his feelings.
Yeah, because it looked like they were trying
to... Let it go. Let it go.
Well, they looked like they were trying to rekindle last season.
Yeah,
that's why.
More than Maisha. I mean, Papa just, he's got it for Maisha. Okay, cool. But she likes Kevin, so let it go.
Yeah, I think that he admitted that they had a lot of chemistry, but he was like, we ain't gonna do Kev like that. We ain't Gemma and Jake.
Right.
Speaking of Gemma, what about her dad and
that Tiara? Yeah.
Tiara. I mean, okay, Tiara. Well, I'm gonna let y'all talk about it.
I was just gonna say,
we can talk about it.
I wasn't hopeful that their relationship would last anyways. Like I just figured it would run its course eventually. It wasn't due to the reasons that I thought. I thought maybe he would find out more about who Tiara is, and maybe her lifestyle and his lifestyle don't match up. And that seems to be somewhat true because she really wants a baby. And Marcus is like, my child is grown. Like, I don't want to start over again.
A lot of couples break up for stuff like that, especially if they, it could be right people, wrong timing, or,
But these things need to be discussed
They need to be discussed, right? You got to discuss, like, you want to have a family or not.
Right, because Tiara, okay, you want to have a child, got it, understand. But my boy Marcus, like he said, he just finished raising a child. Why would he want to start that mode all over again? That's talk about a roller coaster ride. I mean, that ain't easy.
Yeah, and I'm guessing Marcus is at minimum, mid to late 40s.
Right.
I thought he may be like around 50.
Yeah, I'm just saying at minimum. He's at least 40,
or close
or
to
going,
it.
or even higher. Yeah, but thinking about that, And that to me, if I can't imagine myself in my late 40s having an infant, that would be hell on earth. I'm just saying, that sounds terrible, honestly.
Devastating.
Right. I mean, that's one thing if you never had a child before, because these days people are waiting longer to have children. And so to each his own if you decide to have one later in life. But I understood where both of them were coming from. And I'm just like, I feel like there's gonna be something with that situation too. Because I'm like, for all we know, she might already pregnant. And it might not be his. It could be Shah.
Goodness.
I'm just thinking about mess.
Yeah, it seemed like all of that mess kind of was coming together when they had the men's night or whatever, and they were sitting around talking about it. I thought that, you know, they were joking around with each other, you know, Marcus and Shaw, talking about how they shared, you know, basically the same woman. And Darnell and what's his name also shared the same shared Dom. Jamal.
I was like, wait a minute now. I was like, wait a minute now. I was like, y'all don't bring that up in front of old boy. Clearly he don't know.
Well, he's
been with the homies.
He got wind of it. So what he does with it, we'll see.
Oh, he does now, yeah. But he didn't know until they open their mouth.
But what do you think about Jamal inviting Dom to live with him? And he's got Lene in there. Now, Lene, it ain't your house.
Right.
And, you can't be pulling rank like that. So you came up on your brother a little strong.
Very strong.
And I didn't appreciate that at all. I mean,
He was. I think he did. I do think he should have talked to her though.
Yeah, he definitely should have talked to her.
You do give somebody a heads up.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I got that. But I mean, she was acting like,
who is this? I was like,
yeah, you calling her out a name and
oh yeah, she was talking crazy.
Yeah,
she was coming crazy.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I know that's your brother. You love him. You're protective of him. He should have definitely told you up front, but her attitude was stank as hell. And I was like, oh, that's not the way to approach this situation. And then he was basically saying, just give Dom a chance. Like, let her show you, what type of person she is. I trust Jamal's judgment for the most part because he's so protective of Lene. He wouldn't just bring anybody around if it wasn't, serious.
Look, she's running the circuit. She is anybody as far as I'm concerned. She's
listen.
Well, he didn't know that.
She knows that.
Well, he should have found out she was loving the crew before he moved up in there.
That's true.
That's true.
I mean, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, but she knows. So
right.
You running the circuit and everything. I'm like, okay, girl, you need to slow it. You need to slow your roll. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess that cooking is enough to win everybody over.
Right.
They was at that table.
And they was like, "Oh, you can stay."
So I don't know what Dom is putting in her cooking, but I need to know the secret.
I know, me too.
So I thought that was funny. I'm almost certain Jamal wasn't aware of Dom's history, but I wonder if that starts to change their relationship now that Jamal is aware. Does he look at her differently? Does he move her back out? Like what? I don't know. So you know how men can be with their egos, and they start hearing people whispering about them behind their back and whatnot.
Like I said, I always had a 48-hour rule. 8 hours was your max. And then when you went 2 or 3 days away, you can always come back for the 48 hours.
Are you a trip?
Yep. I think there's gonna be a conversation about that though.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. Another thing that happened was this episode. Emit's brother Damien kind of hinted at him that he might be kind of fluid. He was wearing the nail polish and stuff, and he said that he's interested in women, but he also seemed to suggest that he was interested in men as well. And so what do we see? But Bakari is a little out of it at the party, and it seemed like Damien was pushing up on him a little bit.
Y'all can have a conversation about that. I got my own opinions, and they're not good. So I'm
well, I don't really know that Bakari caught on. You know, like I said, he was out of it. He might have been under the influence or something, but he was asking.
He was.
Yeah,
He had the edible. The edible
okay.
that David gave him.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was
I think he's
basically
on to
asking
it.
would he read his book or whatever about his life. And
Yeah.
Damien was kind of feeding into like, oh yeah, I would. But then he was doing a little bit extra that I don't think Bakari caught on to.
Yeah, he was. Because he was looking at Bakari. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But speaking of people exchanging glimpses and stuff, did you catch
Let me say.
how Vic was looking at Tiff?
Yeah, I thought
when he helped her too, I was like, wait a minute, I see a little something there
I
too.
started to ask. That's what I wanted to get to. I wanted to ask: is Vic trying to push up on Tiff?
Tiff? Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at him if he did. Tiff is fine. She's an attractive woman. And she's, you know, newly single, maybe not by choice, but she's newly single. And we know how the wolves come out.
But I mean, I thought
once they find out you single
I
again.
thought Vic had his own choice, his own type.
Right.
So, you know, that's what kind of surprised me. But like you, Tiff, when I noticed what I saw, I'm like, wait a minute now. It
wasn't just you. I saw it. My son saw it. We both looked. We're like,
if that's the case,
I see a little tenderness here.
Yeah.
I see a little tenderness here.
If that's the case, I don't know how I feel about Vic doing that. You fresh out of situation yourself. It don't take them no time to move on.
Did she even leave? I don't even think she left yet. Right. So I'm like, wait a minute. Just lining up folks. You know, she ain't even out the door yet.
Yeah. So I'm real interested in seeing what happens with all of these situations, whether Nuck is trying to move on Tiff, whether Vic is trying to make a move on Tiff, whether Damien is trying to make a move on Bakari. I'm like, oh, this is about to be some mess.
or is Alicia trying to move up on, push up on Bakari?
Yeah. You see
another one? You know, we got.
Yeah, Kashad was out. She was like, He was like, you want me to move out so you can move Bakari in?
And you know what Vic said to Sean?
Yeah, Vic was the one that stoked that.
Vic said she likes him younger than you.
She likes him young, and that's why that made him uncomfortable.
Yeah, so I don't know. It seemed like it's a lot of mixing amongst friends going on here, and I'm like, this is borderline incestuous. Not really, but because they are such a tight-knit group, it's like y'all just mixing and mingling amongst each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, share alike, I guess.
I also thought that Bakari would have checked Shad a little bit harder than he did. He seemed like he wanted to say more than what he said, because he approached Shad for taking, you know, he was like, you didn't tell me what you were going to do to Zay, that you were going to kill him. And so, but you know, that got kind of interrupted by Alicia. But I'm like, I don't think that that's resolved either. I think Bakari really feels a way that here I handed over this person to you and that's what you did.
Right. Like he feels responsible. And the thing now is like two people are gone. Rob is gone. Now Zay is gone. And he knows about both incidents.
Yep. And I know that got to weigh heavy on him.
Yeah.
So what? Something Jake said to Papa, which I thought was very true. And Jake said he'd have taken us both out at any point in time. That is Zay.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of agree with that. That's why I said Zay is not the kind of guy you want. You know, he can't be controlled. So he has his own mindset. He has his own independence. He knows what he wants. And basically, he's not trying to listen to Nook. And so sooner or later, something like this would have happened. Like he would have killed Nook, or Nook would have killed Zay, or something to that effect. And since Zay was on this clip about not taking out family, I think Zay would have taken him out at some point.
Well, I think that he was definitely a threat.
He was ambitious. But I think the relationship he had with Kenya was also keeping him in line. Like, you know, that leveled him out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that with Zay being gone, maybe, I don't know if Kenya is going to try to do her own digging too and try to, you know, figure out what's going on there. Like you say, she does kind of know a little bit more about the situation than most. It's always the innocents that get taken out. So I'm like, she might get herself involved in something she has no idea what she's getting into.
She's already in it.
What's that?
She's already in it. So she'd do best by just getting out of town as soon as she can.
Yeah, I agree. And in terms of everybody in the community trying to like come together, I think that hopefully, I don't know, Charles Sermon seemed pretty strong. And maybe that can be a uniting factor. Maybe, you know, Nuck continues down this path of redemption and trying to change his ways. I don't know. But ultimately, like it's going to come to a crossroads. Like you're going to have to make a choice. It reminds me a lot of what we're talking about in our Godfather Harlem recaps, where you come to this pathway and it's like you continue down the path of destruction and tearing up your community, or do you try to do something upbuilding and more positive that's not going to destroy and ruin lives? And I think Nuck is definitely torn. He's at that point in life where he's trying to figure out, okay, what's it going to be from here?
And the cost associated with both. So no matter what you do, whether you stay in it or try to leave, there's a cost associated with it. And are you willing to pay the price?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I really hope that everybody can get it together. It's a lot of grief obviously going on in this episode. I'm glad that the ladies got together too. Just like the men had theirs night, the ladies got together and had their night, and they all got to kind of vent about relationships and, you know, wanting to walk away from certain relationships, the dating scene, kids, talking about how much they actually needed the gathering, because trying to hold all that stuff in is really unhealthy. You kind of need that positive community to come together and talk things out with. So I do really like the way this show incorporates those kind of community meetups amongst the men and the women.
That was really cool and stuff. But the men looked like they had more fun.
They did.
I looked at both things. I was like, as the men was like, out of lit, and
at the bar,
the women looked somber and talking about this and that. And I'm like, listen, I'm all for chill meetups with the girls and us going to the spot, all of that and stuff. But when I looked at both, I was like, the men are having more fun.
Yeah.
What can we say? You know how to have fun.
Well, that now brings us to who can get the hand segment of the show. In terms of who can get the hands, you guys have nominations.
I certainly do.
All right, what you got, Ron?
I'm going with Dom. You're running a circuit, and you know you should know better. You should know better.
Dom is trying to change her way. She's trying to settle down with Jamal.
You always talk about the women.
No, I'm saying she's right. Look, you know that you've been with at least two of them? Two?
Yeah, father and son.
And you know that you have, and you know that they're tight knit, and you know they're gonna talk about you.
They really didn't have to disclose that.
They did it.
They were being
like that's not
they were being chatty patties.
No, they were being.
So I think
they get the hands.
No, they get the hands.
That is not cool. That's not cool. That's being a chatty patty.
You put that on blast.
He's in another relationship. He didn't have to know that. He should have left that up to Dom.
I'm glad he knows, because now you know what game you're in.
But that was for her to tell him, not his chatty patty. But
you know full well she wasn't going to tell Jamal.
You never know. She didn't have a chance to.
Like you, especially when you know the guy and you know they hanging out. You gotta be like, hey, I need to let you know.
That's why you don't do it in the first place, because you know they hang out.
Man, I'm not giving her the hands for that. I don't think that's on her.
No, I was gonna say, if she get the hands, they get the hands too for being chatty patties. Nobody had to know. They ran their mouth.
And quite frankly, it's none of their business.
And see, this is the second time Emit randomly. Emit should be on the hands list, because he is a chatty patty. He told the business about
pregnancy,
being pregnant and stuff. Told the business, so he let two things slip.
And the baby had to go to the hospital because he wasn't watching the kids.
Yes. So
Emit get the hands.
Emit gets the hands.
Well, I got a 48-hour rule. I ain't got to worry about them.
Nope. Emit gets the hands. Darnell can get them too, because he was feeding into it.
Well, look. That's what y'all get together and do the same thing. So let's not Let's not act like it's just a male.
Right, but
y'all do the same thing.
And what it wasn't it Shaw that was saying, why you trying to mess up a happy home? Or, no, that was Darnell. Darnell said that to Emit. Like, why you trying to mess up a happy home? Like by saying something or whatever.
We don't know how happy that home is. We'll see how happy
it's happy right now. But now that Chatty Patty then ran his mouth, it's probably gonna be an issue now.
Yeah. And speaking of people running their mouth, I'm also giving Jake's little fling
yeah.
She can get the hands for trying to out them. Well, not trying, she did out them.
Yeah.
That was not her place. That was none of her business.
It was messy.
Yeah, she was real messy.
She was done from the start. You pick up my phone and they're gonna question me about what you saw on my phone. And I'm like, I would have packed her bags for her.
Well, that's because Jake acts like he's so cool.
Yeah.
Like he acts like he don't care about nothing and stuff. She's like, okay, I got you. I'll fix you.
And then he didn't care because he was getting, accolades and stuff. So as far as he was concerned, he was
Jake is funny.
Yeah, he is.
All right, so we talked about the hands list. Who can get the game ball? I'm not really seeing a standout here. I don't know. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Charles was trying to be sneaky, I would say he could get the game ball for the sermon that he did to, be more positive, to try to help navigate Zeke out of that, sticky media situation. But we know that he has other motives, so I don't think I can give him the game ball.
I'm going to give it to Alicia. And here's why. Before you slip my throat, I'm going to tell you why I give it to Alicia.
I'm not going to slit your throat.
Yeah, I don't know, because y'all be coming at me strong sometimes. But here's the reason I say this. Is because Tiff needs help. And she needs all kinds of help. And if Alicia is true to herself in terms of what she said she wants to do, I think that's pretty good for Tiff and the baby. Because she needs financial help. She needs a place. She's got it.
Yeah, I agree. Alicia definitely did a big one by helping her out, but I do still feel like Alicia has her motive. So I'm weary.
I am too. And like I said, I'm happy that she's doing those things. That's her grandbaby. I think it's a good thing that she still has a piece, of her son.
Off losing your son,
that's
and that's why I hope it is a boy, because if it is a boy, now we got something to talk about later on. But if it is a boy, that helps him.
Yeah, it does help. So I definitely understand that, and I want that for both of them, and for them to bond and stuff. I just hope that she doesn't, she's a powerful lady. I hope she doesn't try to overpower Tiff and then try to take over the child.
Yeah. So we'll see. I can't wait to see what happens next episode. Definitely looking forward to that one. This episode was cool. We leading up to some more mess. It definitely seems like it's a lot going to unfold amongst all of these different cast members. So we're starting to see some crossover, but it was good overall. To all the viewers out there, please make sure you drop down in the comment section and give us your thoughts on this episode, as well as any predictions you have for future episodes. Also, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and click that notification bell. Follow us on our social media at The Spot Real Talk. And of course, invite your friends and family to get down with us too. We have the greatest recaps, in my personal opinion, on all of the hottest shows. So not going to want to miss out. Please make sure you are down with the team and, tapped in with us everywhere that we are. Tiff, Ron, y'all got anything else you want to add?
Good.
All right. Well, on that note, we are going to call it a night. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
She said that she hate me, I hate me too. I can always tell when you're lying, girl, you're see-through. All these miles away, yeah, I just wanna see you. Baby, give me good face, she hit me like seafood. Remember when I saw you, hi, it's nice to meet you. Know my old girl salty, she just wanna be you. I'm a dog, no Maltese, I don't wanna leave you. Once you're right here, I just don't wanna mistreat you.